the Pelicans are back. Kind of preseason, right? But we finally get to watch the Pelicans play basketball. I got 4 things for you that you need to watch in the preseason opener Tuesday. Orlando Magic. Let's talk about it.
You must know that first. Can't nothing and nobody fade what we trying to do and what we about to do. Second thing is, we got this game on our level. You understand what I'm saying?
Welcome to another episode of In Space. I am your host, Chris Connor. Shout out to all the good people. DraftKings Sportsbook, Jägermeister, Bursaw Law Firm. I took a little bit of a break, so I'm happy to be in the spirit of recording again, right? Got something to really talk about. I tried to stretch reality in regards to the things that I talked about or wanted to have conversations about, whether I had people on here, or whether it was just me. And now we get to actually talk about basketball for real. Not practices, not media day, not off-season workouts, not FIBA ball. We get to watch, even in preseason, we get to watch this team actually give an idea of what they might look like when the games actually matter for real. So 4 things for you. Look, preseason is all over the place. There are some things I really think it comes down to your opinion of what you're watching. What I've noticed over time, specifically with this team, right? We've seen them go forward. We've seen them win all their preseason games, but certain things, certain troubling areas end up hurting them once the games actually matter and get off the slow starts. We've seen certain individual talents shine in preseason that don't shine once the season starts. I don't have to bring up the names, but y'all know who they are. Some are currently on the Pelicans and some aren't. But that's not foreign. Like, that happens with a good majority of teams. And then you see certain things that do transfer game one. For this team, last season, it was the energy and some of the ball movement and the fun, right? They showed that game one. The team that played against Brooklyn last year, pretty much was the team for certain respects. Brandon only played 1 game, but it pretty much was the team that was having fun in some of the games, like the Chicago game, which I was at last season, the preseason, right? It was just, the energy was a little bit different, and you saw that pretty much be the same team that came out in game 1 against Brooklyn. So I'm gonna give y'all 4 things, and then I'm gonna get y'all out of here, man. I'm working on some other ideas and videos that I'm gonna get done more than likely tonight. But here is this one. Let's talk about number 1. The things you need to watch for in the preseason open at 7:00 Tuesday night against the Orlando Magic in New Orleans. The Borrego effect. So you get to, depending on who you ask, some say bringing in Borrego is a big deal. Some tell you it's just a tweak to the offense. I think it's probably somewhere in the middle. I think that there will be some things that look familiar that the Pelicans do before Borrego walks in, and there will be some things that are more modern and improved. And you get an opportunity to see what some of those actions, some of those setups look like game 1. And when you see them, if you watch the game the way that I do, or if you're very detailed in play after play, you'll notice them immediately. You'll notice certain alignments. You'll know certain off-ball cuts. You'll notice certain screens. A lot of things will be different. Lots been talking about the pick and roll. I think that this offense, their biggest struggle, outside of, they could and could have used some added shooting. I think they still could use some added shooting. We'll talk about what their best shooter being out could mean for another side of, or another part of the team. But even without certain talents being available, whether it be through injury or whether it be through roster spots, or just a certain archetype, there was a level of, I think, creativity that this team needed to take a step up for. If it felt like there were things left on the table with certain guys and not using them to the best of their ability. So, and we've talked enough over time about, as great as Zion and BI have been together or have been individually, you want to see them be able to kind of merge those things while they're both on the floor, playing together, getting the best out of each other together. Pick and roll has been a lot of different, has been a part of some of the discussions in doing that. I want to see how they implement that early if they choose to. The starters are supposed to play somewhere around 20 minutes. How do they do that? How does Borrego do that? How does Borrego involve Jonas Valanciunas? I expect to see Zion still in the post, but are people just stand? What other kind of actions off ball are happening while that's taking place? I don't just, you don't just want to see certain guys sitting around in the corner and watching. Even though you have some really good ISO basketball players, it's too much. The creativity and the ball movement was too inconsistent, and it would cause them problems sometimes, even when certain individuals were having good nights. And for this team, in such a crucial year, you want to see what Borrego does to kind of help. Are we overstating his impact and his arrival? It's a lot of questions that I think are at play. But you talk to some dudes that are in that building, they're really excited about his addition, and I want to see what things jump off the screen immediately in not just the entire team, in a kind of a DNA kind of an identity switch of sorts. I want to see what it does for the best players, specifically with Brandon and Zion playing together. So that will be interesting. Second element, or second thing that I'm looking for, the bench. This goes along with what I was talking about with Trey Murphy. You don't know when Trey Murphy's coming back. You don't know when Jose Alvarado's coming back, and you don't know when Larry Nance is coming back. You expect Larry and Jose more than likely to be back sooner than later. You talk to Larry say he's not missing a game, and it doesn't look like Jose's missing a regular season game either. But we're used to this team having guys that are out. We're used to this team missing players, missing talent. Well, they get an early chance of in that equation for other guys to step up and kind of be able to do it early, right? I think the benefit in this is we've seen you want to see how serious some of these guys take these minutes and this opportunity. There's a lot of different Pelicans players in the past that we've seen really make the most of it, even if it didn't translate right away. I think if you're watching the game, you want to see guys like Kyra Lewis. You want to see guys like Dyson Daniels, who I'm proud of, or who I'm high on. You want to see, if a guy like EJ Liddell ends up playing well, there may be somebody, and there's always someone that you're not expecting to make an impact, have the opportunity to make the impact. Jordan Hawk is another dude who's going to be important. When you're missing your best shooter, who will not be ready for game one, when you're missing your backup, or one of your backup guards, your backup point guard, Jose Alvarado, and your backup center at this point, other guys are going to have to step up. And losing a guy like Larry, okay, what do they flex out with? We heard Herb at the 5, Zion at the 5. It's so many questions and lineups and changes in personnel that I want to see, rotations and you get an early glimpse. And for a bench that's missing 3 guys early on, which isn't necessarily foreign. I mean, hell, in a lot of these games, first preseason games, it's not like the entire team plays, but what guy comes out game one hungry, understanding all the different changes, ready to go, and really takes a hold of some minutes that will be there to start the season. And I think from Najee Marshall to Kyra Lewis to Dyson Daniels to even Cody Zeller, for example, I already mentioned EJ Liddell, and that's outside of certain individuals maybe we're not talking about, potential two-way dudes. There's going to be an opportunity for dudes to come out here and make an impact and really make the coaching staff have to make some interesting decisions. And for a team that, in some folks' opinion, was already thin, you want to see where that depth this year comes from. So bench, second part. Third element also kind of ties into the bench, right? Off-season improvements. Guy like Najee Marshall, and I'm doing a show later on about the players that have something to prove. And that's a lot, I think, on this team. I think you could find angles and stories for a lot of players on this team that have something to prove. Well, it's no secret for Najee. Najee is building off of his best season as a pro, but he still has some things he could get better at, and he got a chance to make a lot of money. I do. You can come up with your opinion what a lot of money is, but when I say a lot of money, I say if Najee ends up, and we've said it all offseason, did a show with Chaz about it, and did another show and talking about Fred Vincent about Najee Marshall. If he's simply a 35% three-point shooter, that is going to change his life. He's going to get a raise next year regardless whether it's in New Orleans or another place. But with everything else that Najee Marshall brings, if that jumper, which looks different and you can see immediately, I just want to see it in games now. You can see the release looks a little bit different, quicker, a little bit higher, looks more fluid, less flat, less pushy of sorts. If that three-point jumper gets anywhere, if it allows him to be even a 35% shooter or a respectable, consistent corner three guy, I mean, that changes a lot, not just for Najee Marshall, but I think for this team and how certain guys are used, because teams are going to sell out. Teams are still going to look to knock Brandon, CJ, and gravitate towards Zion off of their spots and where they want to get to. Corner threes are going to be there. It's the most open shot in basketball. We're talking about jumpers anyway. So it's going to be there regardless. It's definitely going to be there on this team. So, and that's not just with Najee. Talking about Dyson Daniels, how's the finishing, how's the strength, how some of the things he's got better on defense, his shooting as well. His jump shot is supposed to be tweaking a little bit better. Very interested to see that. Kyra Lewis, that ties into the bench. People saying he's having an incredible camp. He has an element on this team. We're talking about quickness and we're talking about speed that doesn't exist. And in all honesty, it's not a lot of guys that has his, I think, his first step in basketball. That's how quick and how fast Kyra can be up and down the floor. It's just controlling it and some of the other elements, the float or the left hand. It's going to be interesting. If he comes out and he plays well and he is building off of his offseason, again, it's going to be very important and going to help out the Pelicans a lot. And then I think the last part here is, I said I got a show about this team having a lot to prove. Well, look, last season, Brandon Ingram played one preseason game. I think they set out Zion for the last one or something like that. For a team that is just looking to have their players just trying to keep them together, for a team that's talked so much about health, talked so much about chemistry, these games matter to them, or they should. Some folks will tell you they mattered last year. They matter. All the reps that they can end up getting, I think, even in preseason. I know in a lot of sports, football as well, teams are getting they're getting moving more and more away from the old practices and standards of preseason basketball setups. They just are. They want to keep their guys healthy and they're going to trust what they're doing in practice and training camp. These guys, specifically Brandon, Zion, and Brandon, CJ, and Zion need to play together. And even for 20 minutes in preseason, it's going to matter. It's going to matter. You want to get the best out of a guy like Jonas. You want to get an opportunity to, to really see how Borrego is going to use him. I mean, let's see it when everybody is out there. Let's see what creativity, what new wrinkles that everybody can get used to by simply these players being able to build a level of chemistry. And I think all the talk that's been put out about business, right? So, and about them knowing that they have to prove the team, the players saying this, knowing how important just getting a real feel for each other out there on the floor. This, I mean, what better time to do it than now? What better time to work out some of the awkward looks and some of the spacing issues and some of the just everything that's at play outside of adding some new faces on your coaching staff. Do it now. Do it now. Perfect time to experiment, and then figure out, from there. Put yourself in the best situation to hit the ground running and go out there, on business. Go out there with the intensity and, start a rhythm. And I ain't talking about in garbage time. I'm talking about with the players that actually matter. This is a very important year for this team. It's make or break for a lot of elements. I think preseason for this team matters more than it's maybe meant in a very long time, because they got to get every single minute in a real basketball setting of figuring out each other, from spots to looks to chemistry to shots to execution. And they got to do it now. And you get the first look of it. Hopefully, if all goes well, nothing fluky happens between now and Tuesday. So, yeah, those are my 4 things, man, to look out for. We got Borrego, we got the bench, we got off-season improvements and changes, and we got intensity, seriousness, and business. Put on a show for the people, even in the preseason game. Get them excited, get them bought back in, and put some people on notice, even in a meaningless game, of what this team could be like. I'm not saying you should make a decision one way or another, at DraftKings Sportsbook and bet this team to win a division or win an NBA Finals game off of 20 minutes of preseason basketball. But as I mentioned, bad habits seem to travel a lot from my perspective. Get them out the way now. Let's see some of the good habits that they can put together, and who's going to make the most of this time and of these minutes while certain key players are out recovering from injury. That's my show, man. Appreciate y'all as always. Tap in with us, man. Get in the comments. Let me know the things that you are most interested in watching. I know we all want to see Zion. I know we all want to see Brandon not in a hot dog suit. CJ McCollum apparently has been the best player in camp. For most people that you've talked about, the best player in the building, looks to be in really good shape. A lot of dudes seem to be serious, and I think for once, like, that's really needed, especially with the team that's going out there and play basketball. So it's going to be interesting what we see. But all in all, man, it's just good to watch them be out there playing basketball again. Shout out to y'all. I'm going to get y'all out of here with this DraftKings read. And you know what we do at the end, how Najee get us out of here. See y'all a little bit later. Hope y'all enjoy this and watch episode 2, but the next video to come out after this.
NBA fans, the wait is over. Basketball's back, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is celebrating with an unbeatable offer. New customers can score $200 instantly in bonus bets for throwing down $5 on the NBA. Win or lose, it doesn't matter. You'll start the season with an instant dub. Basketball's more fun when you're in on the action. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code BOOT. New customers can get $200 in bonus bets instantly for betting just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code BOOT. The crown is yours.
All right.
In the building. I told you last time, get with us. Well, get out of here, man.